Good morning. Welcome back to Passion Oral Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Educate, enlighten, entertain, and let's not forget mindfulness. Very important. Today's special episode with your host, Lillian Cauldwell, is from Alternet, Alternet, and it's written by Tom Hartmann. And the title of his article is Trump Just Issued a Threat to All of Us. So, what does that mean? It means that something has changed, and Mr. Hartman wants to bring it to our attention. So, what is this all consuming, dangerous idea that Mr. Hartman wants to share? And you should pay attention to what he has to say. It's an opinion, yes, but it's also based on facts. And you need to pay attention because if you don't, you're going to lose the very freedom that our forefathers guaranteed in our First Amendment of the Constitution. The Attorney General, Bondi, has launched an attack on one of the most sacred parts of the First Amendment, the freedom of the press. And pay attention, it's a deliberate strategy from the dictator's playbook. Last month, in case you did not know or are aware of, Bondi quietly issued a memo rescinding vital protection for journalists that prevented the government from forcing reporters to reveal their sources or to surrender their notes during a leaked investigation. This wasn't just an ordinary memo, it was a declaration of war against the very foundation of freedom of a press in America. Bondi's memo, which was released on a Friday afternoon, rescinded policies that had limited when and how the Justice Department attorney could pursue records or testimonies from journalists, including in cases involving the unauthorized disclosure of government secrets to the press. Think about it. All those previous leaks that have called our attention, the US citizens' attention, to what our government is really up to. Our Justice Department no longer represents us, the people. It just represents the current administration. Will now allow federal investigators to pursue communications from media outlets in government, marking a complete reversal of the Biden era and previous presidential administrations, policies that protected journalists from becoming targets of government intimidation. Bondi's justification: the Justice Department will not tolerate unauthorized disclosures that undermine the current administration's policies, victimize government agencies, and cause harm to the American people. No, this has nothing to do with the American people. It has to do with those who are in power, who are voted into office and negate their oath, OATH, to protect and serve the people who put them into office by their vote. Now, did you catch that? Not disclosures that threaten national security, but those that undermine the current administration's policies. Since when did the president's policies become sacred and beyond scrutiny? Since when did exposing wrongdoing by our government become a crime against the American people? Throughout America's history, ethical government officials who leaked information to the press have been essential in maintaining our democracy. They've exposed corruption, illegal wars, and unconstitutional surveillance, and in many cases, they've paid a heavy price for their courage. Ralph Nader. Think about it. Take my old friend and correspondent Daniel Ellsberg, perhaps America's most famous whistleblower in 1971. Ellsberg leaked the Pentagon Papers exposing how multiple presidents had systematically lied to the American people about the Vietnam War. He believed the documents contain evidence of a quarter century of aggressions, broken treaties, deceptions, stolen elections, lies, and murder. Comment. Should that surprise anybody? Look what they did to the indigenous natives of our country. Look at the governments that we have continued to support in South America, all dictators. His brave act helped change public opinion and ultimately contribute to ending the Vietnam War. When Ellsberg released the Pentagon Papers, the Nixon administration tried to block their publication. The Supreme Court ruling in New York Times Co. versus the United States upheld the press's right to publish, has been called one of the modern pillars of First Amendment rights with respect to freedom of the press. That same Nixon administration tried to silence Ellsberg and created the infamous White House Plumbers Unit to stop leaks, which later led directly to the Watergate scandal and Nixon's removal. History shows that when presidents attack whistleblowers and the press, they're trying to hide their own misdeeds. And it sure feels like that with what Bondi and the current administration are now up to. They do not want to be held accountable or responsible. It's always somebody else's fault. Always, always, always. In more recent history, we've seen Edward Snowden expose NSA's mass surveillance programs, and Chelsea Manning revealed troubling military action, including the killing of civilians. Both were driven by their conviction that the American people deserve to know about government overreach and misconduct. Our founders of the USA understood that a democracy cannot function without an informed citizenry, and citizens cannot be informed without a free press that can hold the powerful accountable. That's why freedom of the press is included in the First Amendment. They knew from experience back in jolly old England that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and that a one person rule will always seek to hide their corruption. Take a look at all the history in England and in France and in Spain, just to name a few chosen examples. A free press serves as our only early warning system, like having a canary in the mind against overreach and abuse by the government. When journalists can protect their sources, those inside the government who witness wrongdoings can come forward without fear of retribution. This critical flow of information is what Bondi is now trying to shut down. And Bondi's actions come in the midst of an aggressive campaign against unauthorized leaking in the current administration's second administration. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has already referred two intelligence community leakers to the Justice Department for potential prosecutions, with a third referral on the way. Is he going to receive $5 million too? To get a gold card to say that he's a wonderful American? What we are seeing, the American people, is a step from the dictator playbook. Silence those who tell the truth about your regime. We've seen this pattern in Russia, Hungary, Turkey, and countless other countries where democracy has withered into authoritarianism. First, attack the press, then criminalize dissent, intimidate lawmakers, which is already happening, lawyers and judges. He wants to fire the Supreme Court judges. Finally, consolidate power in the hands of a single leader. The current administration has already named his two most precious appointees to rule this country after him. That doesn't give you the chills, folks. Bondi's memo adds that there will be procedures in place before members of the media are compelled. Are we going back to torture? Tar and feathering, perhaps? She has argued that leakers or even reporters who provide information that she doesn't like could be prosecuted for treason. A crime that carries the death penalty. Do you think they're going to bring back public hanging or maybe borrow the guillotine from France and cut off their heads?